Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive, celebrating 25 years of all of this madness around here, out online with our friends at Curio Wellness and Far and Daughter. We will be getting back to that a little bit later on. We're going to be counting down 23, 22, 21 now that the Orioles are eliminated. Also doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour presented by our friends at the Maryland Lottery. Got my Drug City shirt on. We did it there for my birthday on Friday. You can catch my son as well as Luke Jones, my dear science teacher George Shulin, telling some jokes as well as some baseball stuff as we prepare for the Ravens and the Detroit Lions this week. A little football here on the field and off the field. This guy did it on the field for a long time up in Philadelphia where they're still playing baseball, and he's from Houston where they're still playing baseball, but he's here to talk about football. And he comes on once, twice a year to talk about the NFL Flag in Schools Coach of the Year Award, Gen Youth, and NFL Flags in Schools program. We welcome back All-Pro and NFL legend Bobby Taylor on. You know, the Orioles are out, but we're bumming around here, but you got all of this baseball going on in your towns, right?
Yeah, Phillies and the Astros. And so, obviously those two played each other last year in the World Series. And, hopefully both teams can keep on doing it. It's been exciting. I was going back and forth between the Thursday night football game and the Phillies Braves game yesterday. And so to see them to end it the way that they did at home in front of those crazy fans, I missed that. The fans, listen, sometimes the fans can get a bad rep in Philly, but I just missed that excitement, that passion, that how electric it is. Just watching it on TV, it just seemed insane.
Where do you live these days? You in the Houston area?
Yes, sir. Right outside of Houston.
Well,
Yes, sir.
it is amazing how baseball has sort of taken over that town. I was down there to see Springsteen a couple months ago, and I'm an old Oiler fan, so I had Dan Pastorini on recently. We opened a season, we played the Texans here, so I had them on. But just to see a town get taken over, a little bit here with baseball with that. We got a lot of baseball, Brooks Robinson, Cal Ripken, all that here. But Houston was always sort of a football place, a college football place, as you know. Let's talk about what you're here to promote and Gen Youth and flag football, because I want to let you talk about it. Honestly, you played the game, you had the injuries, you did all of that stuff, but in your retirement, you become very involved with this with your family as well, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. All of my boys play flag football right now. So this is the third year I'm here representing Gen Youth, along with the support of the NFL Foundation. And so we just want to honor coaches, PE teachers, whether in school or in the communities, because we know that they're unsung heroes. I've had, for example, I had coaches that were my teachers, which may have taught me math, science, but also my coaches as well. So they were doing double duty. And so, a lot of times these coaches and teachers, they spend more time with our kids than we do during the week. And so they should be honored. We should cherish them. Unfortunately, they are unsung, but organizations like Gen Youth, they're doing a great job when it comes to putting the spotlight on them. And so I'm just happy to walk that journey along to celebrate them, especially during this time of year. I think it's needed. Folks can go to flag.genyouthnow.org, flag.genyouthnow.org. Applications are open until November 8th, and we'll be making announcements shortly after that on the winners. And so I'm just happy about this. Flag is exploding all over the place. Hopefully it becomes an Olympic sport here soon. We should be getting an announcement with that as well. And so I'm just looking forward to it. And thanks for having me again.
It's always a pleasure to have you on. And I would just say this for flag football. Maybe we don't talk about it enough. And I did 27 Super Bowl radio rows all these years since back in the 90s. And every year, and a lot of these guys are gone now. They're dead, right? They would come on, whether it was Deacon Jones or whether these guys, legends of the game, Conrad Dobler kind of guys that talked about how tough the game was. And look, man, I was a kid growing up loving the Oilers, probably same as you. You're 49. I turned 55 this week. And I have guys of your era or of my era, my age, who played for the Ravens in the 90s, who I've known, wrote a book on that championship team, Bullies of Baltimore, all that stuff all these years ago with Brian Billick. And, I'm seeing players having head trauma. I'm seeing players when I see them, they're hunched over a little bit. They're my age. I also see guys. Peter Boulware is a great example. Got in shape. He had knee problems early on in his career. He was always playing hurt. He's
Mhm.
50 pounds lighter. You'd never know he played football. He walks the earth like a normal guy. And you always
Right.
sort of did as a cornerback. But I want to see these big linemen. Sometimes they go the wrong way. Sometimes they don't. But more than that, the amount of abuse your body takes, and I see these NFL players take, and the way that they've legislated some of the violence out of the game, but not all the violence. And they've always come to me and talk about, look at this helmet, look at this shoulder pad, and all that. Flag football, right? I mean, it was always sort of there. I played it as a kid. I remember it was a hell of a thing trying to grab a guy by the hips and grab that damn flag. I could never do it. But now you're more of a sort of an apostle for football. Love football, but you want kids to play flag. Talk to me about your journey on that, because I mean, you played the game on that concrete up in Philly, Bobby. You know?
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, I still love football. I think it's great. I think it's the greatest sport in the world. But I think also the NFL they did a great job when it comes to just trying to put players in better positions to prevent them from getting unnecessary risk. When you think about all of the rules that are in place, taking the head out, trying to take the head out of the game, and just focusing on different things like that. And flag is just another entry point for whether that's a male that wants to play or females as well. Because when you think about what's happening in the female flag space, we have universities now that are giving these young ladies scholarships to go on and go to school. And I just think that's phenomenal. And hopefully more and more universities and colleges will come on board, because we also wanted to become a national championship sport as well. And so a lot of those life lessons you can learn from playing the game of football, you get them from playing the game of flag football as well. And a lot of those I still use, to this day. And I'm pretty sure you do as well when you think about, hard work, learning how to win, learning how to lose, being a good teammate, like all of those different things. And so to be a part of something like this, because everyone is not going to make it to the NFL. We all know that. We know the percentages and things of that nature, but it just gives males and females another entry point to play the greatest sport in the world, where they could become lifelong football fans. Because, some of the greatest fans in the world I know are female. They aren't necessarily male. It's and to be able to see that. And when I go out to some of these tournaments and watch some of the games, they're so athletic. And a lot of times, especially at younger ages, the girls, they're out there running circles around the boys.
What's
And
the
so,
rules on contact? I mean, I'm not as familiar with flag as I need to be, but I gotta,
non-contact.
Luke, my partner has a child, a niece now. She's getting to be that age to kick a soccer ball around a little bit, 4, 5, 6 years old, running around a little bit. What's the entry point for playing flag? What's the age? And what would you say to a parent of a 5, 6, 7, 8 year old and saying, look, they don't have to play tag. We can play non-contact, but learn the values of the sport and have fun playing the sport without head trauma, without tackling, without broken legs, hopefully, maybe blown ACLs, and you can't say that with running and planting, but something that is non-context. I know a lot of kids are worried about soccer and heading the ball, and I mean, our heads are most important thing,
Yeah,
and
yeah, so yeah,
that's the thing that I would worry about if. And my son played football for Perry Hall back in the 90s, but my son's 39 now. If he had a son or a daughter, I might not be real hip on head trauma. I knowing what I know about it now.
yeah. So it's all regulated. It's non-contact. You can go out there, you get great exercise. You play in some great venues. I mean, for example, you could go and play at some of these practice facilities of some of these NFL clubs. I mean, we have the NFL flag national championships that take place during the same time as the Pro Bowl, which will be in Orlando this year.
By the
So
way, last time I had you on, you were like running around the tournaments and stuff with your kids, right?
so it's like very cool, and you get to wear like authentic NFL branded uniforms. And I just think that's cool because you look good, you feel good, you play good, you're playing the best sport in the world.
As long as you're
You're
not wearing a Steeler uniform, it's fine with me. As long as you do that.
yeah. I hope hopefully most folks will want to play with the Eagles, but we allow coaches and teams to choose, and a lot of times, especially being here in Texas, it's a struggle between whether it's the Cowboys, whether it's the Houston Texans, or what have you. But I mean, I just think it's a great sport to play that's being embraced by not only people in our country, but outside of our country as well. For example, I was able to attend the World Games in Birmingham over a year ago. And when the women played, it was the Mexico team versus the United States team. And unfortunately, our ladies didn't win. It was the Mexico team that won. And fortunately, our men won the championship. I think it was against France. So just to see that, to represent your country, and hopefully the IOC soon will be making an announcement that flag football will become an official sport for the 2028 Olympics, Summer Olympics in LA. And how cool would that be? I mean, I know if I was still active, I would want to, test my luck to try to be able to do that, to be able to represent my country. Because when I think about basketball and, all of the great basketball players talked about how representing their country was just so special as opposed to playing in the NBA and things of that nature. And so to be able to do that at some point, I think that would just be so cool, like something that would be on the bucket list
We
for
don't
sure.
usually invite Philadelphia Eagles on the program. We make an exception sometimes. Baldinger, I'll have him once in a while. Bobby Taylor, we let him on as well from down in Houston, Texas. He's here to talk about the Coach of the Year and NFL Flags in School Coach of the Year award. You can visit flag.genyouthnow.org. That's flag.genyouthnow.org to nominate your favorite coaches and PE teachers. It's interesting because I had George Schulin out for my Drug City crab cake tour this week. He was our science teacher, but also the baseball coach at Dundalk High, where we won the state championship in 1983. I might remind everybody out there, all those Chesapeake, Anne Arundel County. You 40 years later, you still crush them about it. You know that, Bobby. For me with flag football and, dare I say, sort of the bastardization of sport, whatever it would be, baseball turning to softball, we used to play, pitcher's handout baseball and wall ball, and then you play rundown in the baseball space. Basketball, I mean, we play 3-on-3 horse. There's tournaments for all this stuff now, 3-on-3 major tournaments, move the rim up, move the rim down, all of that. Football's one of those things that, like, flag football sort of, as I said, always been there, but to get more organized into something. I mean, how in the world would anybody ever get a flag off Lamar Jackson? I mean, honestly, like, he would be the greatest flag football player in the history of the world, right?
I
Literally.
mean, listen, I think about Lamar playing. I mean, just think about Tyreek Hill playing flag football. I mean, how
Or
awesome
Billy
would
White Shoes Johnson back in the day. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
Because
And so,
tackling them wouldn't matter anymore. It wouldn't matter how big and strong they are. It would matter how agile they are,
oh, for
right? How
sure,
elusive, right?
it's a skill set that you would have to work to try to develop if you already didn't have it naturally. And so, just to see the athleticism, and I know I keep talking about the ladies, to see how impressive they are when they're out there on the field and how excited they are to be able to play the sport. And it's really not a step down. Like, playing flag football is not a step down from playing football. Listen, the NFL is the NFL, and it takes a blessing and a special person to be able to get to that level. But flag football is its own thing, and it's really more so an extension of football when you think about the skill that it takes, the ball placement from a precision standpoint from the quarterbacks, and they're obviously plays on a little smaller field. But to go to a game, my first time, I was blown away. When I say I was so excited, I mean, I had goosebumps on my arm. I started to sweat a little bit. I was like, man, I mean, I need to settle down just a little bit. But it was just because of the excitement to see the skill level at that point for me. I mean, I was hooked.
Bobby Taylor is here. He will be out there and supporting all things Gen Youth and NFL flag in schools. He comes by to talk about the Coach of the Year. At some point, the Eagles this year and the Ravens this year, and how this is the game's changed, right? Just when you see the game the way you played it as a cornerback. I mean, like we have Kyle Hamilton here. We drafted in the first round. Is he a safety? Is he a linebacker? Is he a cornerback? He's a piece. He's a moving piece on the backside of some teams play it 7, 8 deep. That a guy like you, the way you played the game and the size you were, you'd be a different kind of player now, wouldn't you?
Listen, these guys are so athletic. They're so fast. They're stronger. It seems like they're bigger. And, I just admire them. I mean, I know a lot of times you get some of the older guys, saying, well, these guys, they couldn't play when I played and blah, 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 blah. I just embrace it just because the evolution, it has to happen just with time in general. And so just to see these guys put on their athleticism on display week in and week out, offensively, defensively. I mean, it's just phenomenal to watch. And so, I still feel like football is the greatest sport on earth. And to see the expansion, not only here in the States, but you think about the games that have just been played. This would be the third game that'll be played in London in a row. Jacksonville, they for the first time they played 2 games overseas in the same season.
Germany in a couple weeks. Colts and the Patriots
yeah,
playing. They're going to sing "Take Me Home, Country Roads" again, so that'll be good.
Yeah, two games in Germany, and so just that experience of where the game has gone, I just think everybody that are some of the decision makers up in the NFL offices did a great job, and it's just fun to watch. I'm a big fan.
Bobby, take care of yourself. It's always good to have you on. At some point, the Eagles and the Ravens will poke each other next season. I will. I'll track you down. We'll talk some flag football. I want to get everybody out to the website to get the information that you need. It is Gen Youth and the NFL in Schools program to launch the NFL in Schools Coach of the Year award. Go to flag.genyouthnow.org to nominate your favorite coaches and PE teachers. Very, very important. And I think it's a good week that I had George Schulin on to talk a little bit about life as a teacher and as a coach. And listen, the day I met Marvin Lewis, 1996, when the Ravens moved here, he brought me out, and he and Jim Schwartz taught me football every Friday. I'd pack a lunch, sit in their office, and we'd watch football together. And Marvin's like, "I'm not a coach. I'm just a teacher. I'm just a teacher. That's all it is, So, it's always good to get the education. Pleasure to have you on. Nothing but bad things for the Houston Astros. I'll say that. So I'm Phillies all the way. I'll support the other side. I'll support the baseball side. But Rangers and we're hurting up here, Bobby. We're hurting from the baseball side.
Listen, better luck next year.
They cheat down there in Houston at baseball. I know they do. Bobby Taylor joining us here from Philadelphia. I am Nestor. We are WNST AM 1570 Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking. Baltimore positive. Stay with us.
Thanks for having me.